Hi guys, and welcome to my first ever proper tutorial, I guess. Today we're going to be drawing an eye in colored pencil. This is the eye in question. I just want to say, when you're trying to do realism, to really just focus in on your reference picture. Study it, look at the colors that you might use. I was doing that because we're going to start with the iris, so I'm busy focusing on what colors I see. And while it is a blue eye, there is a lot of grays within the iris, which is what we're going to be using mainly. Payne's grey especially, because it's got a little bit of a blue tinge, but mainly grey. And yeah, so just focus on your reference photo and just study it a little bit before you just dive into a project. So I am using Archer's hot press watercolor paper, and I've just drawn the sketch of the eye lightly in graphite. And I think I'm busy picking out some colors that I will use at the moment. Yeah, so I'm picking out some blues, and the pencils I use are the Caran luminance, Derwent Lightfast, and the Faber Castell polychromos. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat in the background. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just use a a kneaded eraser to lift some of the graphite, because I don't want it to come through under the colored pencil. And we're going to start with a pupil, and I'm using a darkish brown here. I think it's walnut brown. I could be wrong, but I think it is that. And when I'm doing the pupil, I don't just use black, because if you've been doing this a while, I'm sure you would have heard that if you just do black, it tends to look flat and unrealistic. So I'm layering some browns, very dark browns. I also layer a blue, and then I layer a black on top of that, but I do quite a soft layer of black, because here is a very light layer of black that I am putting down. Now we are starting with the middle layer of the iris. Is just outside the pupil, where it's not quite blue. If you zoom in, you'll notice the colors are like a lot of gray and a little bit of orangey yellow kind of color. So I kind of just find some pencils that I think look similar to the reference, and I can just go with it. A little bit of olive green in there. And I think I even use quite a bright green, but I use it very slightly so it doesn't overpower the colors, because you can't really see any bright green on the reference picture, but I seem to have obviously picked up some of it. Some yellow on the outside, and there's that bright green, but I do it very subtly. Okay, now we're moving on to the rest of the iris, and I put down a very light blue base kind of coat, and look at how I am look at the direction of the strokes that I use. So I use lines, but they radiate outwards, because if you look at a close-up section of a pupil, it looks like lines that come out from your pupil, right? So that's kind of what I go for. I don't make it just stiff lines, but rather color in that direction, if that makes sense. And I do a light base layer, because we're working from light to dark. So I'm going to layer in darker colors and just preserve some of those blues, rather than trying to erase Don't know if I'm making sense. Rather than trying to erase the dark color to get light, we preserve the light to shine through after we've layered the darker grays. I hope that makes sense. Doing a voiceover is quite an awkward thing to do. Anyway, so we're coming in with some grays now. I start by using warm grays because when I zoomed in, especially on the left side, it looks like quite a lot of warm kind of grey, which has a more like, I don't know if it's yellow, I don't quite know what makes a warm grey warm, but it's not cold. That was lame. Yeah, it has more like a yellowy undertone, I think, or a brown undertone, whereas your cold greys have more of a blue undertone, especially Payne's grey, which I use a lot of when I darken up the iris a bit. I'm working on the reflection here, and if you notice, the reflection is not actually white. There's a lot of blue in it because it looks like clouds. If you zoom in close, you'll see it looks like clouds, so that's what I'm trying to portray there. And here I'm drawing the eyelash reflections in the eye. Remember, your eye holds a lot of reflections, so that's what I'm drawing there. And now we're going to darken up the iris a little bit more. Now while I'm doing this part, while I'm darkening it up, I'm not trying to do exactly what the reference photo shows. Like, I'm not drawing the lines exactly where they are. I'm just doing it close to what it kind of looks like. Like, I'm getting, not inspiration, but, you know, I'm doing close to, not exact. And it works because it doesn't, if you don't see this reference photo and I just show you my drawing, it's still going to look realistic, and nobody's going to know that it deviates so much from the reference photo, if that makes any sense. I don't know. That luminance Payne's grey color is one of my favorites. It's such a nice color. You can't really see what I'm doing here, but I'm going at the top of the iris. I'm going to make the shadow quite prominent sometime or other, because obviously where your eyelid is, it's going to cast the shadow over the eye. Okay, there comes the shadow bit. And I think I do go in later and just darken it up even more. And you can keep layering colors for as long as you want to, or work it for as long as you want to, until you're happy with it. I didn't carry on for too long. I could have carried on for much longer, but I just didn't. I think now I'm going to show you that we're going to work on the white of the eye, which, if you pay attention to the colors, isn't actually white at all. And I think I was showing you an example, like my Apple pencil is white. The iris over here, or the white of the eye here, is not white. We're going to have some light blue around the edge of the iris, and some greys, and quite a darker grey there, and a reddish tone as well throughout. And that is what we're about to work on now. So I'm going to go around the iris, and I'll use little circular motions to get some of that blue color down. And then I come in with a very light grey and start working on the whiter part of the eye. And this is what's going to build depth. If you add a darker color on the outside, it's going to make your eye look like a sphere and not just that it's flat. Also, when you work with your pencils, make sure to follow the shape of whatever object you're busy working on is in. I noticed a little bit of yellow, and so I added that there too. Now I'm using a combination of Venetian red, Indian red, and I think Caput Mortem. I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's the colors I've been using there for the reds. And I really enjoy the Lightfast, what is it, like nude ranges or colors. They're really nice. Okay, we start working on the skin now. I don't have any secret recipe to working on skin. I think personally it just kind of comes over time, and you get to know your pencils, and then you get to know what kind of color might work, because I use a lot of colors to do my skin here, and I just layer and layer and layer until it kind of looks how I think it should look. And it's not identical to the reference photo at all, but it still looks like skin in my opinion. And you see here how I'm trying to separate the lower eyelid away from the rest of the face, because that's also going to make your image look more realistic. It's not just a flat piece of skin there. You've got a lid where your eyelashes come out, and then you've got the skin surrounding that. Same with the top of the lid. You've got a little bit of a lid that sticks out where your eyelashes are going to come out, and then you've got your rest of your eyelid after that. And these are all the things you need to look at when you're studying your reference image, because light is going to hit all these things differently, which is going to mean that your tonal differences are all going to be different. Well, obviously your tonal values are all going to be different, and that's what you need to try and project onto the page if you want to do realism. It's all about tonal differences or tonal values. You could be doing this entire picture in pink, but as long as you have your darks dark and your lights light enough where they should be, which indicates, where the light hits them and casts shadows, etc., that's what's going to make your piece look realistic. Yeah, I was trying to map out where the eyebrow is going to be, and then realized I didn't leave enough room on my paper to fully put the eyebrow in, but that's okay because I'm not focusing on the eyebrow in this tutorial. I was really just focusing on the eye. For the top part of the skin, or the what would you call it, your eyelid, sort of, not really your eyelid, your brow bone area, whatever you want to call it, I just have lots and lots of layers of color going into that, and I just build them up slowly until it gets to a point that I'm happy with it. And even at the end you'll see that I haven't really properly finished it. I think I've lost some footage, so we've skipped ahead a little bit. I think I'm about to do the eyelashes. Yeah. Now, I noticed a lot of beginners don't do eyelashes properly. So first of all, can you see how the eyelashes are coming out of the lower lid, your lash line? And they're not just straight beings. Your eyelashes curl, and that's how you need to draw them. And do you see how slow? Okay, so the footage here is sped up, but a few seconds ago it was real time. But do you see how slowly I take to try and do these eyelashes? It's not something that you should just rush through if you want them to look good. You need to study your reference photo again, see the direction they're going in, see the clumps they're in, and then put that down on paper. You don't have to rush through eyelashes. I used to do that all the time. I used to be like, oh, I have to do them quickly, otherwise they're not going to come out right. But no, study your reference photo and see how the eyelashes curl and where they come out from, and then put that on your paper and it will go just fine. But once you decide to make a mark, do it with confidence. See how they come out from the eyelash and then they curl up and they go in all sorts of directions. This footage here is in real time. I'm just trying to show you how carefully it's thought out, and you don't have to rush through this process. Alright, so I think I just skipped ahead a bit here, or I lost footage, I can't remember. But I did the eyebrows very quickly. I wasn't paying attention to them at all, because that wasn't the focus of this tutorial. Anyway, so I think we're nearing the end here. And I hope you've enjoyed watching this. If you like it, please let me know.